When the sun disappears, darkness spreads like a blanket over the frozen expanse. The wind lashes violently across the icy plains, and the ocean, transformed into a white desert, falls silent. Blood stains the snow, a fierce reminder that in this icy realm, the struggle for life never ends. The world enters a winter slumber, and everything is poised for one of the most extraordinary chapters of wildlife. In this remote region at the edge of the planet, cold is not just a condition, but a law, with temperatures plunging below -60 and sunlight vanishing for months. There is no margin for error. The weather is both the harshest adversary and the ultimate judge of existence. Life adapts or vanishes. Every day is a test, every dawn a new battle for survival. Nothing is simple. The terrain is unforgiving. Storms are relentless, and resources are scarce. Yet in this forgotten corner, nature continues its course with unstoppable force. Migrations, displacements, and conflicts unfold beneath a pale sky on frozen land spanning more than 14 million square kilometers. A continent without permanent residents, where 98% of the surface is ice. In the ocean depths or across the ice, silent creatures resist, hide, hunt, flee, and adapt. Here, where winter is absolute, every form of life demonstrates ancient strength. Welcome to wild Antarctica, where survival is constant and the cold rules. Beneath the water, a majestic figure glides with precision, an orca, capable of over 8 meters in length and weighing more than 5 tons. The Southern Ocean's most efficient predator. She is not alone, but part of a group that can number over 40 individuals, structured matrilineally, led by adult females, especially the eldest, whose decisions guide the group. This is no casual gathering but a strong social unit built on family ties, cooperation, and shared learning passed down through generations. From the first moments of life, an orca calf recognizes its mother's unique voice, swimming at her side, learning to move, breathe, and be present. The calf gradually understands the clicks adults use to communicate, observing responses to the matriarch's calls. Sometimes it listens silently, other times it imitates the sounds, creating an underwater babble that evokes gentle responses from relatives. Their world forms around this shared language, teaching what it means to belong to a community, a way of life shaped by intelligence, collective memory, and adaptation honed over millennia. In the ocean depths, every movement is precise, as if following invisible choreography. Group coordination, communication through pulses and clicks, and collective decision-making make orcas true ocean strategists. Hunting is not solitary but a demonstration of technique, discipline, and teamwork. At times, their prey is a resting seal on an ice floe. The pack encircles the ice, synchronizes movements, and generates waves to tip it, forcing the seal into the water, trapped and terrified. The outcome is as certain as it is inevitable. From a distance, the orca pups watch silently, staying close to the more experienced females who do not take part in the attack but protect the young. Occasionally, a mother makes a brief sound, signaling attention, a silent lesson as the young witness the ice giving way, the prey falling, and each movement's purpose. They do not join the attack, they are not ready, but their eyes learn, memorize, and imitate. In that moment, ancestral hunting knowledge is transmitted without words. Some hunts require even greater cunning. Sometimes the target is not a resting seal but a pup guarded by its mother, a southern right whale. The prey is not the mother but her calf. In one of the most astonishing strategies in the animal kingdom, orcas become ruthless tacticians, identifying the mother and calf and beginning a siege. They do not strike immediately but take turns stalking, circling, cutting off escape routes, and forcing her to expend energy, aiming to separate calf from mother. Once successful, the group acts swiftly. Some distract the mother, others drive the calf away. The scene can last hours. If the strategy works, the calf is left isolated and vulnerable. The sea turns red. It is not cruelty, it is survival, and each pack member receives a share in what resembles a perfectly orchestrated ritual. Sometimes the prey lies deep in the ocean. Orcas of these southern waters have developed a particular taste for the black toothfish, which can grow to 2 meters and live more than 700 meters below the surface, where pressure and extreme cold are lethal to most species. Reaching these depths requires exceptional lung capacity, but these orcas manage diving like silent projectiles, holding their breath for over 15 minutes. Their heart rate drops sharply, an adaptation that allows them to withstand immense pressure and conserve oxygen. They seize their prey in the depths and rise with it between their teeth, but do not eat immediately. They swim to the shallower layers near thin ice, where the young wait expectantly. There, the true ritual begins. They share food, teach, nurture, and ensure the continuity of the lineage. A mother surfaces slowly with a toothfish, and her calf spins restlessly beside her. She releases a piece of prey in front of the little orca, which hesitates at its first contact with meat. It smells it, touches it with its snout, and finally bites. Watching her mother patiently, the calf swallows and makes a high-pitched, almost celebratory sound, taking her first step toward food independence. In the world of orcas, calves are never alone. They are the pod's treasure. the focus of collective attention and effort. At birth they already make an impressive statement, weighing over 180 kilograms and measuring 2 meters. From the first breath in icy water, surrounded by protective peers, their learning begins. There are no classrooms, only the vast ocean, where, guided by their mothers, they learn to swim, use echolocation, explore, identify prey, and distinguish it from the ocean's soundscape. Education goes hand in hand with play. Clumsy jumps, unexpected turns, friendly chases, and gentle bites strengthen bonds and prepare them for the future. Even for a baby only a few months old, a young orca discovers a piece of kelp floating near the surface and pursues it with the intensity of chasing a living creature. She circles it, pounces, drags it a few meters, and releases it, repeating the motions as if each attempt were a rehearsal. Her mother watches patiently, while other calves play with ice, small fish, or sea branches. What seems like simple fun is actually training. Every clumsy turn, every playful lunge is the foundation of future hunting skills. One of the most moving moments occurs when calves begin practicing real hunting techniques under adult supervision. A vigilant mother guides her newborn toward a small school of fish. There is no danger, no need to kill it, is a lesson in patience and understanding when to act. The mother emits soft sonic pulses, underwater whispers the calf tries to mimic, producing clumsy, jumbled clicks. Driven by excitement and the urge to imitate, the baby pounces. Her first attempt fails as the fish scatter, but the mother patiently guides her again. On the second attempt, the calf isolates a fish, circles, pounces and catches it by the tail, playing rather than killing. Observed by the mother, they emerge together to the surface. The exercise teaches calculation of distances, coordination, and echolocation for navigation and hunting. The youngest repeat these practices until their movements match adult precision, and when they join a full hunt, the group greets them with celebratory vocalizations, a step toward adulthood. But life is not only tenderness and learning, it is a constant journey. Some populations migrate thousands of miles from Antarctic waters to temperate regions in search of food and rest. Journeys over 9,000 kilometers recorded between Antarctica and the South Pacific, lasting more than 20 days. During these voyages, the group remains united, communicating through complex acoustic systems. Each pack has a dialect of unique sounds that identify members, traveling through water like ancient echoes to maintain order. Leaders are often elderly, females, many over 60, guardians of vital knowledge. They know the best hunting grounds, the dangers of currents, and when to move or pause decisions that save lives. Some have been tracked in the Gerlach Strait and months later on the coast of McMurdo Sound, tireless travelers carrying scars that map their experiences, passed down through generations. In the cold ocean depths, orcas not only survive but dominate, rising to the top of the food chain through group cooperation, memory, and intelligence. Compared by scientists to great primates, their environment is organized, based on strategy, experience, and learning. As the polar sun barely rises, they continue routines perfected for ice and ocean depths. High above, where waves roll endlessly and wind blows mercilessly, another creature defies the vastness, gliding with majesty and wings spanning over 3 meters. The wandering albatross, eternal nomad of the marine sky, soars as the bird with the largest wingspan on the planet. The albatross can reach up to 3 meters from wingtip to wingtip and traverse immense distances with barely a flap of its wings. Where other creatures would see desolation, it finds home. The albatross does not fly so much as float, dance, and glide on invisible currents, covering more than 10,000 kilometers in a single journey using a technique called dynamic gliding that propels it with minimal energy without touching the ground. Guided by instinct that defies logic, its eyes scan the surface for food, from small fish to mistakenly surfacing crustaceans. Sometimes it dives shallowly, other times it simply waits, trusting the sea to provide. Yet, in its eagerness, it can overeat, weakening its wings until it falls, floating heavily, vulnerable, before rising again as if reborn. Despite this wandering life, the albatross returns home every 2 years, weather and circumstance permitting, to the same subantarctic islands where it was born, such as South Georgia and the Crozet Islands, nesting in colonies that can number over 1,000. These remote lands, where moss barely covers the ground and the salt-laden wind blows uninterrupted, witness the albatross's most important encounter. Love. Courtship is a ceremonial mix of solemnity and awkwardness, with males spreading wings, bowing, shaking their heads, tapping beaks, and producing strange sounds, broys, muffled roars, guttural whispers. The ritual may last hours or even years, before a stable bond forms. Once a female responds, the pair mates for life, a fidelity that can endure over 50 years. Together they build a simple nest from mud, dry branches, and any available vegetation. The female lays a single egg, with no replacement for 2 years. If the chick survives, both parents take turns incubating it, enduring rain, cold, and the slow passage of time. After more than 60 days, the shell cracks, and a fragile new life emerges, a barely feathered, trembling ball closer to a breath of life than a future bird. Yet, in that solitary nest on a windswept remote island, a timeless miracle occurs. The parents feed the chick a precious substance, not mere food but a vital elixir regurgitated from their stomachs. Thick, warm oil packed with energy, up to 9,000 kilocalories per liter, perfected by evolution to survive the harsh southern world. Each drop falls into the chick's tiny open beak, and with each feeding it grows steadily. Its body rounds. It learns to stand on clumsy legs. Its eyes become alert, hungering for the world. The oil not only nourishes but awakens instinct, patience, and resilience. Over time, the parents' visits become sparse and unpredictable. They disappear for days, sometimes more than a week, leaving the chick alone to stare at the horizon, uncertain yet learning. Meanwhile, they traverse impossible distances over the open ocean, hunting fish and squid without guarantees. Driven by the single duty to return with sustenance, the chick learns to live with absence. It endures the creeping cold, the wind that it seems to mock its stillness, the rain that soaks its immature feathers. But above all, it learns to live with waiting, the long, silent, cruel wait. One day, without prior training or rehearsal, it will leap into the void. Its wings, developed in secret and in silence, will open, and the sky will become its own. That first flight will not be followed immediately by another. After that leap, it will be gone for years, a traveler and dweller of the wind, returning to the island of its birth only rarely. But to reach that day, it must first survive. The solitude of the nest is not always peaceful. On these storm-battered islands, danger takes many forms. The sea is cruel, the sky even crueler, and threats advance silently along the ground. A skua appears at the colony, its flight tense and deliberate, wings slicing the air with precision. It seeks not shelter or a mate, but easy prey, and a chick, still in its nest, does not yet understand hunters. All it knows is hunger and the faint hope of a returning shadow from the sea. The skua approaches, circles, perches, and stalks between the nests like an experienced thief, learning from past encounters. Then a sudden squawk erupts, not from the chick, but from an adult albatross nearby. It spreads its wings furiously, imposing itself as a silent guardian. The cry spreads. Other adults echo it, filling the air with tense, dry calls, as if the island itself was screaming. The skua hesitates, eyes darting between nests, calculating, then leaps and soars away. It has not given up but waits for another chance. Not all danger comes with feathers or claws. Sometimes it falls from the sky. Hours later, the clouds darken, low and heavy, and a storm advances relentlessly. Wind whistles like a blade. Rain pounds in horizontal fury. The nest trembles. The chick curls, clutching mud and life with its claws, soaked, its warmth seeping away. There is no mother, no father, only its small, exposed body and the primal instinct to survive. For hours, the world rages. Many nests are destroyed. Young are swept away or succumb to exposure, yet the chick survives, shielded by the rounded shape of its nest and, perhaps, a small favor of chance. When the storm finally recedes, it does so reluctantly. Gray, almost compassionate light filters through broken clouds, and silence follows like a collective sigh. Then, in the distance, movement appears. A figure crosses the horizon. It is not wind, not threat. It is a parent, returning, flying low, skimming the sea, wings outstretched. Its flight is swift, steady, and straight toward the nest, carrying the promise of sustenance in its stomach. He has crossed seas, dodged storms, and fought for food, bringing not just physical nourishment but emotional sustenance, proof that abandonment was only an illusion, that distance did not mean forgetting. Love in this form is an act of resistance, landing gently beside the nest as the soaked, shivering chick raises its beak to receive the long-awaited drop, thick, warm, and full of life. That day, the little bird survived hunger, predators, and storms, unknowingly taking another step toward flight. He has learned that living in the south means facing the abyss with his head held high, understanding that the wind can punish yet also signal return, and that not all dangers have wings, not all shadows bring death. Sometimes the approaching shadow is that of a returning parent, bringing nourishment and comfort in a single drop. Such is the life of the wandering albatross, woven with long absences, quiet returns, relentless storms, and subtle gestures. Every day a challenge, every nest a renewed promise. In this remote corner of the planet, endurance is a form of love, and loving is a way of waiting. Where ice cracks with a dull crunch and the wind howls relentlessly, the orca and the albatross continue their paths, one beneath the sea, the other above the clouds, united by the vast, merciless, beautiful southern ocean. A perfect stage for two opposing kingdoms sharing the same infinite blue. Yet they are not the only majestic residents of this end of the world, where life defies the impossible to persist. In a remote corner of the sub-Antarctic Ocean, where snow never fully disappears, one of the most fascinating life forms thrives, where land meets sea and cold bites to the bone. The ocean hides secrets only the resilient dare confront, and among them stands an elegant figure in black and white, regal and parade-like, the king penguin, the second largest species on the planet. On land, it may appear clumsy and wobbly, yet underwater it becomes an agile, precise, and swift swimmer, reaching speeds up to 10 kilometers per hour, using its wings as flippers, slicing through water gracefully. Perfectly adapted to this icy realm, cold does not intimidate him. The water welcomes him like an old friend. Beneath his skin, a thick layer of fat and oiled feathers retain warmth, keeping him alive where almost any creature would freeze. He descends slowly, a fluid, silent dance, to depths beyond 100 meters, where sunlight barely penetrates. His hunt begins among schools of silver fish, shimmering like living mirrors. He selects prey with expert precision, zigzagging skillfully to confuse them, taking advantage of currents and shadows. Sardines spiral in a desperate cloud, yet one swift burst sees him snatching a fish with his curved sharp beak spines inside, holding it secure as he arranges it to swallow. Though fundamentally a bird, his anatomy defies expectations. Legs swept back, wings transformed into rigid flippers, body shaped for water, awkward on land but flawless below the surface, retaining the attentive mind of a bird. Quick and instinctive, it navigates an environment that demands a unique logic. Though its body carries a structure beyond the limits of its original design, it has found its ideal place in these waters. Success, however, does not guarantee safety. In depths where light barely reaches, a shadow slips silently. The leopard seal, a patient predator that has tracked the penguin's every move from the shadows. It gauges distance, reads the rhythm of its swimming, and waits for the moment when confidence meets vulnerability. Ice is no obstacle, nor is the cold a challenge. This kingdom of icy water is hers. The penguin still focused on its hunt senses, a subtle change, not a sound or an image, but a vibration in the water. Instinctively, it spins and releases a burst of bubbles, momentarily blinding its pursuer. The leopard seal reacts too late. The bird has already surged upward, wings flapping rapidly, its body narrowing with each stroke to gain speed. Near the surface, it folds its fins and stretches its neck, shooting like an arrow through the water to land with a leap on a nearby ice floe. Safe for now, it shakes off clinging drops and catches its breath while the hunter remains hidden, waiting for another opportunity. In these waters, life never pauses, and each creature must secure sustenance wherever possible. The penguin's diet, though varied, consists of small fish, camouflaged squid, and drifting crustaceans. But what impresses most is not the prey captured but the precision of its evolution. Its streamlined shape reduces water resistance. Its compact, strong body balances power and speed, and its plumage is designed to repel water and trap air, forming an insulating layer that preserves heat even in near-freezing water. Over 70 feathers per square centimeter, it can spend up to 10 minutes at depth, surfacing gracefully without a splash. Beneath the waves, it navigates currents, avoids predators, and pursues schools of fish, each dive a necessary but risky gamble. With the day's catch secured, it swims back to land with swift, efficient movements, every effort aimed at feeding its young waiting among countless other chicks in the colony. On the ice and among rocks, the adult moves awkwardly but with determination, unbroken by cold or wind. Finally, it finds its chick, recognized immediately with a high-pitched squeal. The baby opens its beak, trembling with hunger, and the adult regurgitates a nutrient-rich meal directly into its mouth. Quick, instinctive, vital, this act represents the culmination of an entire day's risk and effort. The chick swallows, eagerly, as if aware this might be its last meal, then pecks at the parent's chest, seeking more, hoping for a hidden morsel to sustain it a little longer. Around them, other young animals repeat the same ritual, some stronger, some weaker, all part of the relentless rhythm of survival in this frozen, demanding world. The larger chicks often dominate the smaller ones, seizing food or position whenever they can, for when the adults arrive there is no mercy and no time for weakness. In these extreme lands, where ice rules and food is scarce, survival is not a right but a privilege earned day by day. Meanwhile, the adults prepare for their next dive, for the cycle never stops. The entire colony moves in a perfectly synchronized rhythm between sea and land, hunting and breeding, effort and hope, each bite potentially the difference between life and death in this harsh environment. When not hunting, king penguins form veritable living cities, gathering along vast coastal stretches where snow is interrupted by thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, of bodies, orderly yet chaotic, deeply synchronized. They are never alone. The largest colonies can number over 200,000 individuals. Life revolves around community, amid their own kind. Every movement has purpose. In the bitter cold, they huddle for warmth. The crowd itself is shield against the icy expanse. When parents leave to hunt, chicks are exposed. Yet in the sea of voices, each recognizes its own by a unique call, an almost invisible bond that sustains life. They walk with a peculiar, seemingly clumsy gait that belies iron determination, dragging themselves across frost, over hardened snow, and occasionally sliding on ice, play and survival intertwined. Each year, between September and November, they answer the call of change. Molting season. Old feathers fall to make way for dense, bright new plumage vital for icy waters. During this 3-week period, they lose around 30% of their weight, unable to dive or waterproof themselves, remaining grounded and vulnerable. But this is more than a physical transformation. It is also the beginning of courtship. Deep instinct awakens, compelling them to perpetuate the species. Each chooses a mate only once per season, bonds forming through subtle gestures, bows, and soft vocalizations that seem part of an ancient ritual. They recognize one another amid thousands by sound, posture, and a dance only they understand. This intimate language underpins the coordination necessary to endure the reproductive cycle. After mating, both return briefly to the sea to feed and gather strength, for what follows demands total dedication. The female lays a single rounded egg weighing about 300 grams, fragile as glass, standing on her legs and protected by an abdominal incubation pouch, but she is not alone. The male is present. Sharing the duty with mathematical precision, one hunts while the other remains motionless, the egg held carefully between its legs, shielded from ice by body heat. Days and weeks may pass without a single meal, their sole focus the protection of unborn life. Around 60 days later, a faint sound pierces the silence. A new promise has arrived. The chick, covered in gray down, is defenseless, measuring barely 10 centimeters and weighing less than 300 grams. Unaware of the cutting cold or the emptiness of hunger, it instinctively seeks warmth and protection from its parents, the only refuge against the harsh environment. Silently and devotedly, the adults take turns feeding it, regurgitating carefully stored fish into its tiny beak, day after day, sustaining life in one of the planet's most demanding corners. Week after week, they nurture the chick with unwavering perseverance, sheltering it beneath their bodies, wrapping it in thick feathers that serve as a shield against icy gusts and snowstorms. The surrounding environment is among the most extreme on the planet, with temperatures dropping below -30°C and wind gusts exceeding 100 kilometers per hour. The frozen ground cracks under the weight of ice, and the dim light barely illuminates the vast white landscape. In these conditions, the dense feathers and the close proximity of parents are essential to prevent hypothermia and ensure survival. Within this shelter, the chick spends its first weeks wrapped in warmth and constant shade, its entire life confined to these tiny bubbles of safety, isolated from the frozen world outside. Yet the cycle of nature never pauses, and eventually, the time comes for the chick to leave the absolute protection of the nest and take its first steps toward independence. Still fragile, it joins others like it in a makeshift nursery in the snow, huddling together for mutual warmth while the adults take turns watching and feeding. Danger, however, is never far. A gust of icy wind sweeps across the plain, stirring flakes of snow and exposing the chick's vulnerability. From above, a skua hovers, moving with the calculated calm of a predator always hungry. Its sharp eyes lock on a chick that has strayed only a few steps from the group. In a flash, it dives, wings slicing the air with deadly precision. But the adult penguin's protective instinct is swifter. With fierce determination, it stands between chick and predator, spreading its wings, ruffling its body, and letting out a scream that pierces the icy air. Startled, the skua hesitates, then retreats into the mist, frustrated. The threat is gone, but the message is clear. In Antarctica, survival depends not only on strength but on the unbreakable bond between parents and offspring. What seems fragile is sustained by a will that faces danger without hesitation. Yet at other times, a lack of food or a brief separation can mean life or death. A young chick, weak and without the constant protection of its parents, may wander away from the group, vulnerable to predators. From the shadows of ice and snow, a polar fox, one of the wild's most cunning hunters, approaches silently, its steps measured and almost invisible on the frozen ground. The chick, oblivious, wanders clumsily, its gray down blending with the snow, while the blizzard thickens, reducing visibility and making orientation nearly impossible. Patient and calculating, the fox creeps closer. When the chick pauses for a moment to squeal, its cry lost in the roar of the wind, the predator bursts forward, striking with speed and precision. The chick barely reacts before it is seized, and silence falls again. One member is lost to the nursery, its absence unnoticed amid the chaos, but part of the harsh reality of this unforgiving land. Life continues among the crowd, and the cycle goes on. Relentless and uncompromising, the cycle continues, and the colony remains protected by the constant vigilance of its adults. Chick nurseries are veritable living masses of down and squeals. Amidst this flurry of beaks, clumsy legs, and bodies covered in thick gray feathers, each chick seems lost in a sea of peers. Yet within this apparent chaos, a hidden and astonishing order reigns. Each offspring has a unique call, a distinctive squeal emitted from its first days of life, which allows parents to recognize their own and helps chicks identify each other. When a chick gets lost, its voice grows louder, higher-pitched, filled with urgency, carrying through the crowd like a distress signal. Sometimes, reunion occurs in minutes, guided only by hearing. Other times, it takes days, during which the chick must endure hunger, cold, and isolation, and not all survive. Yet surprisingly, gestures of compassion can appear. An adult who has lost its own chick may, on rare occasions, feed another orphaned one, a rare act that can mean the difference between life and death. These groups, known as crochets, not only keep the chicks together as they grow but are essential to survival, huddling to protect themselves from icy winds and lurking predators. Some adults remain on land as caretakers, alert to threats, while others venture into the ocean to hunt, operating a shift system that maintains stability in the harsh Antarctic environment. During these months, chicks do more than shelter. They learn, observing the adults, imitating postures, rehearsing movements. King penguins grow slowly, unlike other species ready to fend for themselves within weeks. These chicks require more than a year to reach full independence. Only after this long cycle do their plumage, strength, and instincts develop fully, preparing them to face the world. When the moment arrives, they pause, glance toward the horizon, and begin moving toward the water. The vast unknown sea calls to them, and when they leave, they won't return for years. Yet they are not alone in these frigid southern waters. In the same icy expanses where ice rains and winds cut like invisible blades, another predator glides, the leopard seal. Its sleek body blends with the reflections of the Antarctic Sea. Reaching up to 3.5 meters in length and weighing as much as 600 kilos, its life is marked by secrecy and autonomy, a hunter defined by power and precision. Every day begins with senses alert, guided by hunger, its path dictated by necessity. Preferring solitude, it avoids company, forming no packs. In an environment where food is scarce, every encounter can bring competition, and distance is an advantage. Unlike common seals, which are more gregarious and clumsy, the leopard seal is refined, agile, and deadly, moving with speed that can re-erupt from the depths with sudden violence. Beneath the icy surface, it hides near ice floes, eyes cold and calculating, missing no detail above. It waits with patience, knowing how to exploit every opportunity. A group of penguins gathers on the shore, hesitates, then dives enthusiastically. One younger, inexperienced penguin lingers behind, uncertain, unaware of the shadow slipping stealthily beneath the water, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Calls are both warnings and invitations, resonating across the frozen plains and beneath the water, signaling readiness and territory. The leopard seal's solitary existence allows it to respond with precision, choosing mates carefully, avoiding unnecessary conflict. Each interaction is measured, calculated, a reflection of the constant negotiation with the harsh environment. Meanwhile, on the surface, life for the penguins continues with a rhythm dictated by both instinct and necessity. The chicks, once vulnerable and helpless, grow stronger, learning to dive, to evade, to sense danger before it arrives. Adult penguins patrol the waters, scanning for signs of predators, their movements deliberate, synchronizing with the currents and the shifting ice. Even among the icebergs, a precarious network of hunters and prey unfolds. Krill swarms shimmer beneath the surface. Small fish dart through channels, and seals of all kinds navigate these waters, each aware of the delicate balance between opportunity and threat. The frozen world may appear still and lifeless from above, but beneath it is a complex, ceaseless dance of adaptation, courage, and survival, where each movement, each decision, can be the difference between life and death. Here, in the vast Antarctic expanse, existence is measured not in years but in moments. A leap, a dive, a squeal, a strike, a successful catch, or a narrow escape. And as the seasons shift, the ice advances and retreats, the cycles of birth, hunger, and vigilance repeat, forging a landscape where only the adaptable, the alert, and the resilient thrive. Unusually melodic sounds can travel up to 10 kilometers underwater. The encounter between a male and a female is neither romantic nor long-lasting. It is brief but effective, leaving the female alone to care for the new life. She digs tenaciously into compact ice to create a secure burrow. The wind blows fiercely across the white expanse, yet she works tirelessly, every movement of her fins precise, instinctive, and vital, knowing she must provide shelter for the offspring. Days later, a faint sound pierces the burrow's silence. As the cub is born, with effort, she breaks the surrounding sack, slips onto the ice, and lets out its first squeal. Her wet body trembles, but the exhausted mother licks her tenderly, surrounding it with her more than 300-kilo body to shield it from the polar wind, remaining still for hours to ensure it breathes, stays warm, and survives. The cub, initially small and defenseless, soon displays a voracious appetite, feeding on the dense, high-calorie mother's milk that doubles its size in 3 months. The mother rarely leaves its side, watching, protecting, and feeding devotedly. As days pass, the cub's curiosity grows, taking first steps toward the icy shore guided by her deep sounds and gentle nudges. Hesitant at first, it finally dares to submerge in the icy waters for a few seconds, returning shivering. Each dive is a test and a crucial lesson for survival, learning to float, move agilely underwater, detect distant movements, and train to become a hunter, a future queen of the Antarctic depths. Yet even a top predator is not immune to threats. A formidable enemy awaits. In a narrow channel among thick ice blocks, a pod of orcas advances silently. One detects movement on a leopard seal. With a powerful charge, the orca breaks the ice, sending the seal into the water for a frantic chase. The seal circles, dives, and hides between boulders, turning the ice into a deadly game. Yet this time it escapes through a narrow crevice. From afar, her pup witnesses everything, learning that even the strongest must know when to yield. While the ocean churns with the hunt and flight of giants, the frozen surface appears desolate, yet beneath lies a tiny world of creatures defying extreme cold and dryness. Springtails, tiny wingless insects, measure mere fractions of a millimeter but are among Antarctica's hardiest terrestrial lifeforms, enduring temperatures below -40 degrees Celsius, even entering a frozen dormancy lasting months without fully stopping metabolism. During long winters, they remain dormant under ice or snow, protected from wind and radiation, surviving on minimal reserves. When spring arrives and temperatures soften, they resume activity, moving slowly among frost and cracks, feeding on decomposing matter, mosses, lichens, and microscopic algae. These tiny insects play a vital role, transforming dead matter into nutrients that sustain other life forms. Without them, the Antarctic soil would remain barren and inhospitable in this extreme climate. Springtails remain steadfast, adapted over millions of years to an environment that few can endure. Their unique resilience allows them to occupy a niche almost void of competition, while the harsh climate acts as a natural barrier, protecting them from predators and competitors and granting them exclusive dominion over the frozen ecosystem. What seems impossible for life is in fact a safe haven for these microscopic survivors, making Antarctica their oldest and most steadfast home. The stillness of the Antarctic floor appears absolute, but beneath the frozen ocean surface, life moves at a different pace, marked by the tiny existence of Antarctic krill, no bigger than a finger. This crustacean has adapted its body to the extreme conditions of a perpetually cold sea, where temperatures drop below zero and ice dominates. Much of the year, its translucent exoskeleton, reinforced by special compounds, withstands deep water pressure and winter's harshness. With legs covered in fine hairs, it tirelessly filters phytoplankton floating in the currents, its primary food source. Each movement is unhurried and precise, conserving energy in an environment where sustenance is scarce. The krill's life cycle is a testament to patience and precision. From laying eggs in the depths through larval stages to maturity, it can take more than a year. Reproduction synchronizes with the long summer months, when phytoplankton multiply dramatically and the ocean becomes abundant. In this changing environment, krill emerges as an almost primordial species within the Antarctic marine ecosystem. Its ancestors millions of years ago inhabited temperate seas and were shaped by glacial advances and temperature drops. Today, krill retains traits that reflect that history. Exceptional cold resistance and the ability to enter a reduced activity state to survive months of scarcity. During these periods, metabolism slows, energy needs minimize, and krill remains in dense schools, drawing on internal reserves until phytoplankton return. Moving in compact formations, krill synchronize their movements to reduce individual predation risk and improve feeding efficiency. Though lacking specialized communication organs, they respond to mechanical and chemical stimuli, continuously adjusting to maintain group cohesion. At first glance, their lifespan may seem insignificant, yet survival results from meticulous evolution and constant adaptation, a silent testament to resilience in the frozen realm. In these same waters, where life operates in complex networks, Antarctic gulls find food and shelter, moving with adaptability that sets them apart from relatives on temperate coasts, navigating currents and floating ice with precision. Their grain-white plumage and specialized legs allow them to walk on slippery terrain, molded by the rigors of their environment and prepared for a life cycle that defies climate hostility. The Antarctic gull is not an occasional visitor. Its presence is permanent. Though some populations migrate to southern Chile and Argentina during the southern winter, most of their life is spent around the Antarctic Peninsula and nearby islands, territories offering abundant food and shelter among rocks and seabird colonies. Unlike common gulls that feed primarily on coastal debris or surface fish, Antarctic gulls have adapted their diet to include small marine animals, particularly krill, a specialization supported by their ability to dive slightly and capture prey in frigid waters. Uncommon among gulls in temperate environments, Antarctic gulls spend their days alternating between constant searches for food and rest on cliffs and rocky beaches. During the southern summer, they gather in colonies, nesting in structures of stones and sparse vegetation, timed to coincide with peak food availability. The female lays 2 to 3 eggs, which both parents incubate vigilantly for several weeks. The chicks, initially covered in gray down, remain under close supervision until they can fend for themselves. Their flight system reflects the demands of the Antarctic climate, with muscular structure and metabolism designed to withstand strong winds and prolonged flights. traits unnecessary for gulls in milder regions. Additionally, their denser, oilier plumage provides essential thermal insulation and water repellency, crucial for survival in an environment of constant ice and frozen sea. Living here is strategic. Competition is lower than in temperate zones, and seasonal abundance of krill and other marine organisms ensures a reliable, if fluctuating, food supply. The Antarctic gull is part of a complex ecosystem, its role as a consumer of small crustaceans and fish helping maintain ecological balance. While gulls patrol coasts and ice in search of food, another figure dominates the same shores, the giant petrel. Nearly a meter long with a wingspan over 2 meters, rivaling some albatrosses. It walks decisively on icy stones with an upright posture uncommon among other seabirds. Its arched head and massive beak, ending in a sharp hook, allow it to tear flesh efficiently, while a powerful jaw supported by strong hind muscles enables it to bite and rip through prey or carrion. Adapted to ingest seawater safely via a specialized salt gland, the giant petrel is a relentless scavenger, roaming beaches and cliffs with a commanding presence. Using the seal master stance, head and wings extended to dominate food and intimidate rivals. Unlike Antarctic gulls, which maintain a varied diet, the petrel operates on a more singular logic, claiming carcasses with calm precision, tearing hardened flesh while others retreat, leaving no room for dispute. More than a scavenger, it is a mobile cleaner, dispersing potential sources of infection and facilitating natural recycling, a vital component in a system where every resource counts. Only in such an extreme place can a bird of this scale thrive, mastering survival in a landscape defined by ice, wind, and the raw logic of nature. Its size allows it to be a predator, scavenger and cleaner all at once, and the giant petrel commands both air and icy surfaces with mastery. Yet in the silent, dark depths of the ocean, where light barely penetrates, another hunter glides with precision, adapted to waters nearing 2 degrees below zero. This inhabitant of Antarctic seas is the Antarctic squid. Its compact body and short, muscular tentacles enable precise movement in an environment where a single error can be fatal. Its blood contains unique proteins that prevent ice crystal formation, keeping organs functional in conditions that would freeze almost any other creature. Hunting alone, it targets scattered and sparse prey such as Antarctic krill, icefish and small invertebrates, preferring quick, silent ambushes in the dark gaps between floating ice blocks. Through these gaps, currents may carry a dead Antarctic fish, attracting scavengers like giant petrels, hungry gulls, and drifting krill fragments. From the depths, the squid approaches, tentacles extended like delicate branches, barely visible in the gloom. A sudden burst propels it to the carrion, and its hidden beak tears through tissue in seconds while its skin emits faint flashes, shifting color and pattern to blend with fractured ice above, a tool for both camouflage and hunting. Unlike other squids, this species never leaves these waters, fully linked to the Antarctic ecosystem. Its metabolism tuned to cold and reproductive cycles aligned with prey and scavenger migrations. More than an abyssal creature, it is a life form that survives at the limits of possibility, silent, elusive, opportunistic, and indispensable to the delicate balance sustaining these waters. Even in a landscape where the surface resembles an icy desert, the darkness conceals ancient hunters that never relinquish their domain. Here, orcas power through the frigid seas, queens of cunning and hunting. King penguins, with grace and resilience, endure the icy winds to perpetuate their species. Leopard seals, solitary predators, strike with lethal precision between ice and water. Each of these protagonists sustains the intricate plot of an ecosystem that never rests. In this extreme environment, survival is a story renewed with every wave, every shadow, and every breath.